Peace and blessings. I am Regina, and welcome to my happy place, Diva G's Reborns. Guess what we are doing now? You can probably tell from the title. We are going to be texturizing and sealing our baby Maddox. OMG. I am so excited. I am just so excited. So we are going to texturize our baby. And remember I said to you that Karen likes to feel a bit of the texture on, her dolls. So in order to allow that feeling of the texture, what I do is I like to put my Liquitex in the refrigerator, okay, and let it get cool so it has like peaks. You know how like ice cream can have like peaks like that? So that's what I do if I wanted to have peaks. So I take a little bit of my Liquitex, I put it in the refrigerator, and now we are going to varnish. Well, not varnish, I'm sorry, seal and texturize our baby Maddox. So I like to, as you know, soften up my brushes with my distilled water. And then we also use these to provide some texture. Okay. And what I also do is I have regular wedges just in case. Now, over the palms and the soles, I don't provide texture on those areas, right? I just like for it to be smooth. But like the rest of the skin, I do have it where, it feels a bit, texturized. Now let me move Emmy limbs back just a little bit. Okay. And we're going to put 2 layers on our baby Maddox of the varnish, the Liquitex. Now, when I'm using the Liquitex to create firm peaks, I'm not mixing it with any water. I'm just using it straight. And that's fine. There's nothing, that's fine. There's no problem with that. So yeah. Now, I'm going to start with the back of the head. The back of the head, the head, I really don't provide firm texture on the head because it's going to be covered with hair. So I will put the Liquitex on, the Liquitex Ultra Matte Varnish. However, I'm not going to be applying any real texture to it because this area we would have smooth because we will be rooting on this area. Now, I was wondering why. Okay, there we go. So, the back of the head. Now, while it's still very cold, well, not very cold, but straight out the refrigerator, what you do is you apply it rather thickly so that the peaks would be there. so that it should be okay. Now the kit itself, he's going to turn white, but he will dry clear. Okay, he will turn white, but he's going to dry clear. Now we are going to go right on ahead, and now I'm going to take and you see, of course, he's turned white, but he's not going to stay that way. And this provides texture. Okay. Now, one reason that I started with the face is because while it is cold, I can get the peaks, you know, the elevated, you know, areas. So, yeah. Now, over the eyes, I'm not looking to have any, you know, any like texture like that. Like, you know, I want it to be more smooth in this area. And I want to get inside the nose, inside the mouth. Okay. And it does dry quick. So now I'm pouncing over. But as I'm pouncing and it's smooth what I'm pouncing with. So I'm going across the eyes, so they're going to be smooth. The nose, I'm going to have it smooth as well. I'm going back over the nose. I'll have the nose to be smooth. Okay. And you know the little area on the side of the nose part, right? Now this helps to seal in the work that we've done, right? We can add texture this way as well, okay? And it also helps to provide protection, some UV protection as well. And you want to make sure that you get this everywhere on the kit. You know, you want to take your time to be sure that you're getting in all of the nooks and the crannies everywhere. And anywhere you want to provide additional texture, that part you're going to make a little bit, you know, thicker with the Liquitex. And you want to be mindful of the creases because you don't want any buildup in there. And it takes the Liquitex, you know, about 20 minutes or so. You'll be able to feel that it feels dry to touch. Now it takes 24 to 48 hours for it to cure, but you know, to touch it, you can touch it. Okay. So now what I've done is you look at it where you see a lot of this white around here. There's more, I provided more texture in certain areas. Okay. Now I'm going to go around in the ears. And now the ears, pretty much, I want them to be, you know, smooth in the sense, not providing a whole bunch of texture, but some. The actual arms and the legs have the most texture. Okay, but other areas have a bit less. And it's, of course, obviously it's up to you how you do it. Now, if I want to move a little bit of the Liquitex around, I can moisten the brush with the distilled water, and it can help me to thin it out and to move it a little bit. You want to make sure behind the ears, you know, all of these places like this, you want to make sure that you're getting. So yeah, so I'll do two layers of the Liquitex. To have the coverage and the protection. And you can tell once it started drying because it will become clear. The same way you don't want pooling when you're painting. Well, it's the same way with the Liquitex. You don't want pooling. And like I said, Liquitex, it dries, this one dries clear. And if you wet it, it will turn white again. Okay? So it's like it reactivates and then, you know, it'll turn white again. Now I'm going to go around his neck. Okay. The part that will not have hair. I want to go around that area. And I'm going to provide some texture back here as well. Now on the scalp where I will be rooting, I'm going to thin this. I'm going to use some thinned out Liquitex because it's, you know, it's quite thick, and you know, rooting, I don't want to go through a thick area. Now when I touch his skin, oh, it feels so nice. It feels so nice. I'll make sure that I don't have any pooling anywhere. Okay, great. All right, so now the hands. Okay, so the inside, the palms, right? The palms and the fingers, we're not going to provide any texture. We're just putting the Liquitex in there, and we're going to pounce it off. Because again, this part here doesn't have texture like that. What I will do is I will create what feels like fingerprints on him. And the way this hand is sculpted, it may not be as easy as it has been on some of the other kits that I've done it. But it is, yeah, it is doable with this kit as well. And I think it's a nice touch. I like the way it feels on my dolls. So what I do is I take, now I'm pouncing this out with just a regular, you know, the regular wedge, the normal way, right? And then I'm going to take a little bit extra of the Liquitex, and I'm going to put it on a little bit thick, not ultra thick because you don't want it to feel gloppy, like a glob of, you know, you don't want that. But you do want it to provide some added texture. So in order for that to happen, I take this and then I kind of roll it over. And you will see it and you will feel it. Now, and when I say see it, I can see it because it's white right now. Remember, fingers, toes, ears, and nose are areas that you pay attention to because those are areas that will have an increased risk of wearing of paint. Now, if you are sealing and varnishing well, that should not be an issue at all, lifting. However, you don't know how someone may interact with their doll. So you want to do the very best that you can to, ensure that your work is protected and that the customer or family friend or whomever is the recipient of your work, that they will have a good experience because, there's not going to be any paint lifting and those types of things. So, yeah. And you kind of think about when you're providing, creating texture on your doll, you think about where is there going to be texture on the doll, right? Where would the most texture be? So, yeah. Again, like I said, you don't want it building up anywhere. It dries clear, this is true, but you still don't want any buildup. You want to keep the creases clean because we've kept the creases neat and clean the entire time. So you want to continue with that same energy when you're sealing, right? And you want to be sure that it gets in the creases. You want to be sure that it gets in there and that you're pouncing. You see that you can kind of see the texture there. And once it dries clear, and it's going to feel like really nice, like really nice. Like really, really very nice. And we're doing this now. And again, we're going to do another layer. And you're going to see how nice the texture is. You're going to see how nice the texture is. And you do want to clean the sponges, pounce them down on the paper towel periodically because they can get rather saturated with the medium. Especially, we're applying it rather thick so that we can have those peaks. And then when we go across with the varnish a little bit later, in a few days, it's not going to be, it's going to have a very nice feel. The skin is going to have a very nice feel. And it's just such a nice feeling and knowing that, okay, the doll is sealed well. And I like to do, like I said, 2 layers of this Liquitex, because whatever the first layer maybe didn't get, the second will. And then we will be going across with the varnish in a few days, in about 3 days, 2 days. And the thing about doing it this way, where, you know, you're looking at it and you can see that it's white. You can see the texture, but as it dries down, you feel it less. You know, you'll see it less because it dries clear. And you know, we do feel, you will feel the texture. Now, if you go over the same area multiple times while it is still, you know, wet, that will kind of obscure some of the texture. Now, it looks like it on here, it looks like it's dry skin, but when it dries, it's not going to feel or look like dry skin. It's just going to feel like a nice texture. Like, it feels so nice. Okay. As you can see, I do take my time. I take my time when I'm reborning anyway, but I definitely take time sealing. You know, all of the kits that all the dolls that I reborn, I provide texture. However, I don't, unless it's a specific request to feel, you know, the texture in a certain way, then I will go ahead and, you know, apply the texture from the refrigerator. Apply the from the refrigerator. But because normally I mix it with the distilled water and, you know, the wetting agent, and that will give a certain feel to the kit. Karen, are you enjoying seeing all that's going on with our baby Maddox? I know it's exciting. I know it is. It's exciting. And the anticipation of it all. And this is where being very deliberate with application is very important, because you want to be sure that you get it everywhere. And it does, it dries fast, which is why you see that I'm working in very small areas, because once it's, you know, like when it's white, you know it's still wet, but once it starts going clear, it's drying. You know, it's drying. So, yeah. And like I said, you try to get enough of the medium on so that you can create the texture. Have you seen the videos that I uploaded with Baby Onyx? I uploaded some videos today because she will be put on a cuddle body. So I was painting her alternate limbs. And the veins are visible in person. I don't know that you see them on camera because we've applied, you know, the layers of paint, and they usually kind of tend to fade into the paint so that they're not so visible. The one thing about it, taking the time to seal and varnish, even though it takes like, to do it, it takes almost a week, like 5 days to really, you know, get it to cure and have it cure and everything like that. But when you think about what the benefits are, how it protects the doll, protects your investment, protects your work, and, you know, provides the recipient of the doll with, you know, a doll that will last, you would hope, a lifetime in good condition, right? So it's worth that, you know, 5-7 days extra that it seems like, oh, it's taking a long time to seal, or it's taking a long time to what have you. But when you think about it in a broad scheme of things, it's not long at all, right? It's not long at all. Now I can feel the little texture on the fingertips, you know. And look at the foot, look at the feet. Look at look. Just look how cute. Do you see how cute this leg is? These feet. OMG. Look at this. Look. Just, oh my goodness. It's so scrumptious. Okay, I'm going to go inside here. You got to make sure you go in between the toes, underneath really well, because these are areas that can be overlooked, and if they're overlooked, the paint will have the increased risk of lifting. So I'm going under there, and I want to, of course, go across the toes. And on the toes, I do also like to add that extra texture so that they can feel like they have the fingerprints. Now the soles of the feet, I don't provide texture there, but I do on the toes. Right. once you get to this part, oh, you feel such like a feeling of relief or accomplishment or something, because then it's like, okay, you're almost done. You're almost done. And it is a very, very rewarding feeling. Very rewarding. You're like, oh, almost, almost. And see, this one, it's smooth, so it's not going to provide really texture. Not like these. Even though I said, you apply it thickly, you still, you don't want to just glop it on. You still want to be deliberate with what you're doing. Now you can also provide texture just by ripping a cosmetic wedge and pouncing with that. It's just that when I use, if I'm providing like additional texture, a lot of times I'll use these, but I can use the other, just a regular cosmetic wedge and still achieve a nice texture as well. It just depends on, what you want to do and the feeling that you want, the doll to have, because you'll begin to come to like, okay, I like for my doll to feel this way, so I'll use this, everyone has like their preference usually of what they like, usually, but not always. But yeah, so we are going to remind you to please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And remember the contest that Karen of Making Reborn Dolls with Karen is going on now. It is a very involved contest, and she gives wonderful prizes. The contest started February the 1st, 2026, and it will be running all of February, and then on March the 1st, she will randomly select the winner of the contest. So I would encourage you to go to her channel and to Like, comment, and subscribe. And don't just be there for the contest, because she does have a lot of tips and tricks and funny stories and different things that you would enjoy. I'm sure. I'm pretty sure of that. And, you know, I think it would be nice, if you haven't already, become part of her channel to, you know, check her out and subscribe. Participate in the contest. That's if you want to, you know. But her contests are fun. And the gifts, the prizes are really nice. So, yeah. The nice thing with Liquitex is it cleans up with water. You know, it does. It cleans up with water because, you know, it's not cured yet, you know. So even if it was to dry and you took the water to it and you wiped it, but not that you should, because that would remove, you know, your work. But, yeah. But it does clean with water. It does. So that's why, like, after I use the Liquitex, my brushes, I go ahead and I wash them with the water. You know, I rinse them out with the water, and then I go ahead and I wash them and dry them. Because otherwise, you won't be able to use it again, because it will become very, very hard and rough, and you won't be able to use them again. And if they happen to be brushes that you really like, you won't be happy with you know, with them becoming hard like that. So even though I'm actively working with it, I'm still dipping my brushes in the distilled water as well. And yeah, and because I'm on camera actually doing the you know, doing this, I'm going a little bit slower than I normally would, but you know, I still do take my time, because I like to see what it, you know, what I'm doing, and I want to do the best that I can do. So, you know, and I want to see what I'm doing. And the bends of the legs, you know, you want to be sure that you get into the bends of the legs, the very tip top of the kit, you know, as well. But yeah, you do want to be sure that you have enough of the product, enough of the medium to make those peaks. Because if you do not have enough, you won't have that bit of texture that, you know, you would like. And see, the varnish that we will be using, it's soft touch. So it's going to go on top of this, but you will still feel the elevation of these peaks. Now, of course, anytime you're using anything pouncing or what have you, you always want to be sure that you're not leaving a print that you don't want. Like this is a circle, right? So I don't want to have like a big circle like on the kit, you know? I don't want that. Oh, wait a second here. Okay. And the other thing is you definitely make sure that you are checking, you know, everything, that you are checking absolutely everything. Now, I may mention that for the head, the back of the head, that I wanted to take the Liquitex that I mixed with the distilled water and everything. The one, excuse me, the one that I use for primer, because it is, it's thinner. It's thinner. So I like to use that where, you know, on this part of the head. So, yeah. Now we're going to do this last limb. And yeah. So I am excited to be sealing our baby Maddox. And I know Karen is gonna be like really happy to see baby Maddox getting sealed and texturized. It's so exciting. It's so much fun. You know, and the exciting thing is to know that, you know, you're doing something for someone and that you know that they're going to appreciate and love it, you know, because I'm listening to, you know, what Karen is saying and how she said that, oh, he's going to be special because he's going to be on her bed, you know, with her and everything. And wow, I really feel honored for that, you know, I really do. I tell you, you don't know how much joy, you know, this hobby can bring, you know, the absolute joy that it can bring to the artist and to the collector. It's so enjoyable, you know, and when you look at the work, you know, that you do, and then you look and you see that it brings someone joy, and you know, it's wonderful, you know. It's very, very much. It's really, really wonderful. You know, because it's so much fun. It's so enjoyable. It's so relaxing. It's just like, you know, when you know, it's like I sit and when I'm painting or rooting or what have you, it's just like you can just really get lost in it and just, you know, and then you see you know, the creation. You're like, oh wow. When you take a blank kit and you're able to do something with it that, you know, you actually bring it to life, you know, it's a rewarding feeling, you know, and I always say I'm grateful to God that I'm allowed to even do this, you know, and that it brings me so much joy and brings others joy, you know, and everything, because it's it really is a beautiful, beautiful hobby. Some people don't understand it, and that's okay. Everything is not for everybody, you know. But for those of us who do get it, we really do enjoy it. And it can bring people together across the world, really, you know. You can meet people on social media with the same interests that you have. And that's like a really, really nice, beautiful thing. You know, it really, really is. I want to go to the doll shows. I've always wanted to go, but, you know, I have not yet gone to a doll show yet. But I would love to go to a doll show. They have them different, you know, different places, different states, different countries, you know. And you get to meet a lot of people. You get to meet people that you follow on YouTube. You get to meet the sculptors. You get to meet some of the artists that are there. You can take classes, you know, painting, rooting, whatever, you know, different classes. And when you go and, you know, to the doll shows, a lot of times you can get the kits you can get kits there at a lower price, and you can get completed dolls at a lower price from what I understand. You know, and you can get clothes, you can get, you know, depending on which doll show you go to, you can get baby clothes, you can get this, you can get that, you know, they have so many different things that you can get, and, you know, go attending the doll shows, and you can, you know, it's just a nice thing. And then you see so many, you know, with their dolls, you know, you can see collectors with their dolls. And because sometimes I watch like the videos that different people who go, you know, who have posted their experiences at the doll show, you know, they go live at the doll show, and, you know, and then you have some artists also that do the same thing. And it's nice. It's nice to, it's very nice to see it, you know. So I would like to go to the doll show, you know, because all of my dolly friends are, you know, online. I don't have anyone in person that's a dolly friend, you know. I know that I'm here in New York, and I realize that there are some collectors that are here in New York too. But as far as I know, there's not been any doll show in New York. You know, I don't really know how many collectors, you know, and artists that we have in New York. But yeah, and doing something like that, that's a huge undertaking. I mean, that's like, you know, I mean, my family, we have family reunions, and I know it's not the same thing, but planning and getting the hotels and having an itinerary and doing this and doing that, you know, my family reunion is usually like a 4-day thing. And it's, you know, we have it where we have it in different states. You know, once a year we have certain states, and you know, and it's a lot of work, you know. You know, each state we have a committee that, you know, is, is going to be hosting it, so they make sure, the hotels, they make sure of this, they make sure, all of the things that are necessary, that's what they do. They make sure of. And it's a lot of work. So I can imagine the doll shows, the amount of work that they are too for the hosts, I mean, it's a lot of work. I'm trying to clean a little bit the brush. I just use a different one, that's all. That's why I took out so many. But yeah, so I would love to be able to do that. And I know some people that live in like the same state or nearby, they have meetups. I know sometimes they meet up in like a park when the weather is nice, or they meet like at a mall with the, someplace where they can, have the strollers with the baby dolls and, like that. And it's nice to be someplace with like-minded people, people who get the hobby, people who appreciate the hobby, It's nice, because sometimes people may not understand, but when you're among other dolly lovers, other artists, other collectors, it's nice. It's validating, because some people, they don't see it as art. They, some people, they really don't. They don't see it as, so, and people sometimes feel badly about that. Some people get bullied, and that's not nice. Just because you like something that someone else doesn't like or doesn't understand, doesn't mean that you should bully them. That's not nice. I was looking at a content creator, and she had gone to the mall because she wanted to get some doll clothes, and she went on like an off day at an off time because she really didn't want to, deal with seeing people, looking at the dolls or, what have you. Because not everyone feels comfortable going out in public with their dolls. Some people don't go out at all with their dolls. Some people do on a regular basis. They go out on outings with their dolls. But so this particular collector, she's a collector and she's an artist. And she was minding her business with her and her husband. And, she does have children, human children. But her and her husband were out at the mall in the baby store, and they had she had the doll in the stroller. And while she had the doll in the stroller, she's looking at the clothes, baby clothes and everything. And then she's seen like this lady and her child like looking at them. And then she could hear like the lady's husband saying, "Don't say that. That's not nice. Don't, whatever." And then when she looked around, they were like, the lady was like mean spirited, and she was like, kind of like, looked like she was coming toward her and the doll, because they were like, "That's not real," or what have you. And, whose business is it? Why would somebody feel the need to have something to say? And what happened was the content creator, she was, recording because she was creating content, looking at the clothing and the baby, with the doll and it, so she wasn't bothering anybody. And she goes to this store on a regular basis, and yeah, so when she got home and she was she was uploading or editing the video, she could hear what the lady was saying. And it was not, it wasn't nice. It's like, why do people have to say and do things like that? Like, really? I don't get it. I really don't get it, but there's all kind of people in the world, and you encounter people who are nice, and sometimes you encounter people who are not nice. And, it's just an unfortunate thing that, she went through and stuff. So it's just so unfortunate. But we are finishing up with our baby Maddox. Oh, he feels so nice. He feels so nice. Oh, he feels so nice. OMG. Off camera, I'm going to put on the next layer. I'll put on the next layer. And I would like you to please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Come back again real soon so we can see the rest of our baby Maddox series as he is brought to life. OMG. He's so cute. You see what I mean when I said it dries clear, right? Enjoy your day, family. Stay safe. Peace and blessings.